So welcome to today's training. Today we're going to go over some basics and some advanced techniques about MLS search, looking for homes, searching for homes, and we're also going to go over some prospecting items. All right? Let me see. So we're going to start with this. Who previews properties right now? On a daily basis? Okay. I put a goal. We have to be previewing properties 3 times a week. If you're not going to be out there doing something, you at least have to preview properties. If you don't even have a client, you have to preview properties. Why do we preview properties?
So we'll know what's in the market.
One idea is comps, right? We want to know market knowledge, comps. Now, if you have a buyer, you're looking for a potential property, right? If the property doesn't work, maybe it's just a comp. But if you're on a property and you combine it with canvassing or door knocking or meeting the neighbors, guess what? Everything's going to lead towards a listing if you really focus on it. So you have to really see, previewing is getting out there. Anytime I preview a property, I always run into somebody, a neighbor, somebody. And most neighbors, most people in general are shy. Most people don't just run up, oh, hey, what's going on here? Most people, hey, if you approach them, you have your badge on, you have your business cards, they see you're professional, you're dressed nicely, you're looking at a property, they know that you're probably a realtor or the owner of the house or a lawyer, somebody, right? Not a city inspector. So previewing property is very important. It's one of the basics. Just like you gotta have your MLS, you gotta have those other things. Be able to preview without anything stopping you, right? Now, meeting neighbors, very important. You bring a lot of value. If you don't bring value to everybody that you talk to, they're not gonna come back to you or they're not gonna work with you. And that's one of the biggest things, for me at least, when I'm talking to my clients or to other agents, they see me as a wealth of knowledge. So if I'm out on the field and I see a property, even if I just tell them, oh yeah, it's on the market for $400,000, hey, that's something they didn't know. Oh, it needs a lot of work. That's something they didn't know. So just make sure that you're always focusing on something, on value building. They're not asking for how many properties that I sell or how many properties I've sold this month or last year. That might be a different conversation, right? They want to know some basic things and you can bring that value to them. So make sure that previewing properties, you're seeing a property, but don't be scared of people, right? You're previewing property, you're looking for people too, right? If I'm going to spend the time to go visit a property in Silver Lake, I'm going to look for 3 or 4 properties, and maybe I can make an hour or 2 of it and just knock on some doors. Instead of just driving there, seeing the properties really quickly, and then getting in my car and running away as fast as I can, right? So just realize that anywhere you are, you can be working. You can be looking for a potential buyer or seller, right? Focus on the listings though. Now, when you're looking for properties, this is going to be a little bit buyer related. Who works with buyers right now? Everybody works with buyers, right? It's going to be basic, but I'm going to give you some tips here. A lot of problems that I see when agents are looking for homes or showing homes, I'm mostly on the listing side, so I get a lot of calls from agents, right? And sometimes they call me or I put on Facebook or they see a sign before it's actually listed and they ask, well, what's the price going to be? Because sometimes we put a sign for sale 1 week before it actually hits the MLS. What's the price going to be? $400,000. Oh, no, I'm not going to show it. That's too high. Why is it too high? Is it outside your client's budget or do you just think it's too high? Well, no, it's just too high. You know, those kind of agents, I can't really tell them too much. If it is priced high, then I can tell them, you know what, it's a little bit on the high side, but you know, you can submit your offer, you can still see it. Now, if they say, oh no, my client only qualifies for $375, you know, I always show homes up to $60,000 over what my client is pre-qualified for. Always. If they're qualified for $300, I show up to $360, $350, even $375, who knows? Because it's worth it to see it and then know if it's something that the client really, really likes. One thing is, can we stretch their pre-qual and see what they really qualify for? Other thing is that properties don't always sell at or above what they're listed for, right? You see a lot of homes sell for a little bit less or for a lot less than what it's listed for. So you have to realize that right now, there are more standard listings than REO or short sale. So what does a standard listing mean? Who is the seller on a standard listing?
Homeowner.
Let's just call it a normal homeowner, not a bank, and not somebody in a distressed situation. They might be in distress, but they have some equity, right? So if they're in a normal equity position, they may be willing to negotiate, right? Now, if it's a standard sale, but it's a flip, yeah, maybe they're looking for their number, right? If they don't hit their number, they're not gonna make their profit. But if it's a standard listing and it's an equity sale, don't be afraid to look outside the buyer's immediate, search. So if they say, I qualify for 300, verify those things. I've had so many people tell me I qualify for this, and I will show people one home, only one home, if I haven't met them or pre-qualified them yet. After that, sorry, I can't work with you unless I pre-qualified you myself, or you give me a copy of your pre-approval and I verify it with the bank. Because 9 times out of 10, it's either an old pre-qual, or it's a verbal, or it's from another agent they work with and now they don't work with. So either way, I don't know. If I don't know, then I don't want to just show them properties without them knowing they can get a loan. I'm also doing them a disservice, but I'm also wasting my time. Potentially wasting my time. Yeah? But you can do so much to get them ready. So show up to 60,000 or so. Now, when you're previewing, what are you looking for? Who is your buyer? You have to start classifying your buyer. Is your buyer an FHA buyer? Is your buyer a conventional buyer? It's important because we'll get to right now. Now, buyer listing agreement. Who uses a buyer listing agreement? Most people don't, right? Most agents don't. Yeah, exactly. Do you use one? Okay. It's very important if you are going to give your buyer that attention and you're going to look for, you're going to look with them for properties and you're actively searching and they're fully pre-qualified, they're highly motivated. If all the factors line up, then yes, a buyer listing agreement is a great way to kind of set the ground rules. Not just to have your commission protected, but you know what? It's a commitment on the buyer also, but it's a commitment on the agent. Buyer's representation agreement, yeah. But it's a commitment on the buyer also. They know that they signed something, and the agent is held to a higher degree there. You have a less chance of that buyer just going elsewhere because they've signed something with you. But also, if you don't show them, if you don't give them the attention, sorry, that agreement is only going to last so long. So if you have questions about a buyer representation agreement, go ahead and talk to us. We can instruct you on those things. Now, lots of times, there are other areas just like the area where the client lives, right? So let's just say, Adela, where's the last property you sold? What city was it in? Last buyer that got into property?
Paramount.
Paramount? And do you know where they live right now? Where they lived beforehand? They lived in Paramount? So they lived in Paramount, they bought in Paramount, okay? I've been noticing a lot of buyers moving cities. Has anybody else noticed? Right now with the prices the way they are, the rates the way they are, people are going somewhere they actually want to be instead of where they just used to be. They may be going from a renter to a homeowner. They may be going from just one area to another because of school districts or family size growing or decreasing. So make sure you know your areas. We live in the San Gabriel Valley. We're 10 minutes from downtown, but there are a lot of suburbs out here. Ask where your buyer works. Ask what they do on the weekends. Ask what is their life like? What is their daily week like? Because sometimes you can bring some value to them. So they say, well, I want to live out here in Riverside because it's so cheap, but I work in downtown LA. Say, do you drive 2 hours each way, 4 hours a day? Yeah. You know, are there places that are closer that might interest them? So there's some other suburbs, other areas that might interest them. Now, a lot of people, has anybody sold a condo lately? No condos lately? There aren't many areas with condos, right? If you're not in downtown, there's Baldwin Park has some condos or PUDs, Almani, El Sereno, but there's not that many condos. But sometimes people look for condos, and there's a lot of condos on the west side, right? There's affordable condos on the west side. So make sure that you don't close yourself off to west of downtown LA. Koreatown, Miracle Mile. There's actually very good deals for $300,000, $350,000. But if you don't go out there to preview property, how are you going to know? Now, of course, you have to go see what they're like and everything, but they're nice 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom condo units. You know, when they're newer condos, they're not 1-bedroom units. They're nicer condos. So just make sure that you also educate yourself on different areas. Go learn a different area. Pick a city. Say, you know what, I want to learn what Manhattan Beach is like. Or I want to learn what Westwood is like. Just go. Add 1 day to your month, 2 days to your month, and go learn that area. Preview, canvas, door knock. It's gonna help you. Now, when you're in the MLS and doing searches, what do most people do searches by? What do you do? Like if you look for a property?
The city,
The city?
number of bedrooms,
Okay.
number of baths and price.
Okay, good. So most common is city, bedrooms, and baths. Now you remember, the more things you put, the less you're gonna find, right? What I like to do is I like to see more, because there isn't a city that's gonna have, 2,000 listings unless you just click on LA. So I like to just pick the city, maybe the area. If it's an absolute must bedroom count, maybe the bedroom plus a couple cities. Remember, you can put multiple cities in your search, okay? Not just one city. Now, if there are deal killers or amenities that the buyer's looking for, parking space, garage, a certain living area, a guest house or school district, make sure you know all these things beforehand. That's why it's so important to treat your pre-quals like an interview. You're not just pre-qualifying them to know how much they want to spend or how much they can spend. You have a lot of different questions. Because see, if somebody tells me they're looking for a pool home and they tell me they want to buy, near downtown, I'm going to say, well, we can go north and east, but don't expect a pool just west of downtown. Don't expect a pool just south of downtown. Don't expect a pool in Boyle Heights. So you can find things out about them and kind of get ideas about where to find them homes by having these conversations, because a lot of people are scared or they just don't have the conversations. You're also trying to do a service here, so you're bringing value. Now, big question. Are they looking only for a move-in ready property or a standard kind of average condition? A lot of people have money and you just don't know because they don't tell anybody. Husbands and wives don't even tell each other the money they have.
But you know when you pre-qualify them because they have to bring you the bank statements.
They don't show you all the bank statements. They have 401ks, they have accounts in their parents' names. Bottom line is, then they have $10,000 underneath the mattress. So you have to ask them, say, look, just because you show me that you have $100,000 in the bank doesn't mean that the bank's gonna ask for you to put $100,000 down. No, there's plenty of people that have millions of dollars and don't spend it. And they go out and they buy themselves a Camry, whatever they want. So you have to ask the right questions and earn their trust and show them that, look, I'm trying to bring value to you because the more you show me, the more you explain to me, the better I can help you. If they have some money and are able to get a standard sale or an average condition property, they're gonna save a lot of money instead of getting, let's say, a flipped property. They're gonna be able to find something and you tell them, look, most properties that we sell are average condition. Estimate that you're gonna need about $6,000 to $10,000 to paint and to do the carpet and the flooring. At least that. Prepare them. Now, if they say they don't have anything, then you're probably gonna lean towards the move-in condition already, right? But this helps you because what are you looking for, right? If they can't deal with a standard listing or a property needing repairs, then try to focus on only the ones that have decent looking pictures. Why even go show them ones that don't look nice if they're gonna say no? But also, I mean, sometimes it's okay to test the waters, right? It's okay to show them something that they may not want, see what their reaction is, because you're also educating them. A lot of people say, oh, I only want a red car, and then they see a really nice blue car, say, oh no, I really like it. So you have to educate them too, but it's important to know that beforehand. Now, on the search features, there's some great courses at the West San Gabriel board about how to use the MLS. There's ways to use radius and to draw maps of areas you want to search for. I look by zip code all the time. Because cities, you know what? When a listing agent puts a listing for sale in the MLS, they can call it El Sereno, they can call it LA, they can call it Highland Park or LA, they can call it Montecito Heights, and it's really Silver Lake. I don't know. But usually, they don't get the zip code wrong. It's very easy to know the zip code. And I have on my computer an almanac, if you look up almanac here in LA, or a list of every area and every zip code. Or if you want to get a map for yourself or put a map at your desk or something, it's important to know zip codes and areas and their names, right? So I like looking by zip code. City, or area name. Now, in the MLS, you can also search by fixer or major repairs needed or cosmetic repairs needed. Sometimes that's good. Like if I just want to, like if that agent had the time to actually call it a fixer, I'm okay, I'll spend 2 minutes looking up every single fixer in LA County. There's probably only 100. So I'll look at that list. If you want to just look at REOs, you can. If you want to just look at short sales, you can. If you want to just look at turnkey properties, you can. So these are just things for you to search different ways and find different properties, depending on who you're looking for, right? Now, some people here work with investors, right? Who works with investors? Okay, about more than half of us. Who's actually sold a property to an investor in the last 30 days? Which property?
Colden and
Okay, Colden. That was one of our office listings. You sold it. Perfect.
61st.
61st, is that one of ours too?
Yes.
Okay, duplex?
Yes.
House? Duplex?
And all was,
Was a duplex in
yeah,
there?
Colden was a house, 60% a duplex. Good.
Yes.
So you sold some inventory to an investor, and those need a lot of work, right?
Yes.
Anybody else sell property to an investor in the last 30 days? One escrow? Is it a fixer?
No, they're buying it to rent.
Okay, house or duplex or what is
It's
it?
a house.
Okay. If this was a year ago, more of you would have been selling to investors, right? Because why?
Because
There was more inventory. So right now the inventory is low. 2 of the 3 properties that are sold here are in-house inventory. Just to give you an example, that if we talk about outside inventory, right here in this room, it's 1 person. I've sold some outside inventory too recently, but there's a lot less being sold nowadays to investors. They're looking for deals, right? Every investor talks to every agent they know. Bring me a deal, bring me a deal, bring me a deal. You can do this, you can do that. They promise you the world. Right now, I've been having the best results looking for standard sales, okay? I'm not wasting my time going for REO. Some agent texted me yesterday, and he texted me, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 51st Street, 127,000. I said, oh, sounds great. I'll pass. Why? It's a really good price. Say, I don't have time to compete, and it's going to end up selling for 180, and it's way too much money. My investors are looking to make a profit. They're not a charity, because they'll buy it for 180 and put in 15 or 20,000, and then sell it for 220. There's no profit. You see? Now, standard sales are a good one because you have to educate them. Even a flip might be a good property for an investor to buy. But I'll explain that right now. So, first thing, a standard sale. Usually you're dealing with average condition, right? Next thing, they could be anything. They could be 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom. It could be a duplex. They're very negotiable because they're standard sales. I always talk to every single agent I submit an offer to. I always talk to them. At least 9 out of 10, I'm going to have a conversation on the phone with them before I make my offer. Sometimes before I see the property, but always before I make my offer. I always gain knowledge of which direction to go. Go really strong, come in lower. Now, if I just know the property's overpriced, I'm not going to go in strong, like over asking if I feel it's not worth it. But the idea is that I always gain some knowledge. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about one of the properties I just sold. I sold a property on Hadley. Now, first of all, it's 5 blocks from my house. But I didn't see it because it's 5 blocks from my house. I saw it because I was searching in that area. I saw it and I said, you know what, this one's asking $370, but I know the homes in this area sell for about $500,000. So I wonder why they're only asking for $370. Well, actually, the homes only sell for about $450 to $500. But I said, I wonder why they're asking $370. The pictures look okay. Well, I go there, there's lots of issues. But a normal buyer could buy it if they really wanted to. But most people are not going to have that vision. They're not going to have the cash to make those repairs. So it's going to lean towards a cash investor, maybe. But an investor is going to say at $370, $380, to sell it for $450 or $475, not going to happen, right? They have to put money into it. Well, I go there, and I see the square footage, and I see the property, and I say, you know what? This one could sell for $550 or $600. This listing agent, maybe, or the seller, they're trying to get rid of this property. And guess what? It's a trust sale, and they want to get rid of it. They want the money fast. They have to settle that estate. So it's the seller. It was the seller's decision to list it for $370. They could have probably put it for $400 or $425, and maybe even sold it to a regular buyer. Kind of like the opposite, right? They put it higher. I sold it to a normal client, a normal homeowner. They put it lower, and people suspect that there's these major problems. There's problems, but not that bad. I sold it for 340. And the investor's going to put in about 50, 60,000. And I'm going to sell it for them for 600,000. And even if it goes for 550, they still win. But I had to go see the property. If I hadn't gone to see the property, if I hadn't previewed the property, I couldn't have made that judgment call, right? I have to visit the properties on a weekly basis. Now, that same day, I saw 3 other properties. 2 of them didn't work completely. They were actually decent, and they didn't work for my investors that I was looking for that day. And one of the other ones did work. I made an offer. It was just way too low to what they had. I made the offer maybe 30,000 or 20,000 under asking, but they got a lot of offers over asking from retail buyers. So that property was more attractive to a retail buyer. So I went to see 4 properties. I made 2 offers, and I got 1 accepted. And that's for 2 hours worth of work, okay? But it all comes down now. I got lucky that one at previous properties, and I got an offer accepted. But I would have continued. I still continually see properties, okay? Important thing now. Another thing, small houses on a large lot. Investors right now, they're so hungry that they don't mind construction. A year ago, they didn't want to build. 2 years ago, nobody wants to build. Nobody wants to go to the city, get a permit, do plans, all that. It's a headache. But some investors now are actually building brand new homes. Building from the ground up. Now, additions are pretty basic, so don't be scared of a 2-bedroom. But who usually looks for a 2-bedroom? Nobody usually looks for a 2-bedroom. When I look for investment sometimes, I just look solely for 2 bedrooms. I just want a 2-bedroom house that I could sell to an investor and put a 3rd bedroom and a 2nd bathroom. And if it's flat, perfect. If it's a flat lot, perfect. It doesn't matter what the zoning is, because it's just a house. I'm not making it into anything else. So look for 2-bedroom houses, and maybe you'll find some value there for your investors, okay? Some investors don't mind a house on a big lot if it's R2 zoned, but there's only a few that actually build those brand new duplexes, and they work with too many agents, so I don't really deal with them. But those are really good opportunities right now. Standard sales, go visit them. Now, if the property is nicer than you expect, and you already have clients in the area, maybe you can just use it for a normal buyer. But if the property needs some work, and your normal buyer is not going to be able to get into that property, then maybe you can go to one of your investors. So if you're talking to your buyers, you're talking to your investors, then when you go see property, you might have multiple clients for every single property, and it's perfectly fine. When I saw this property, I emailed it to 10 investors. 3 of them came back to me and said, I'm interested. Only 1 of them went to go see it and said, I want it. That's all I needed. I worked with the guy that said I wanted it. You see? Now I went to go see it on my own, but the other 7 investors that didn't even answer my email or whatever, that's their loss. It was a good deal, right? So make sure that with investors, I very rarely show them the properties first. I don't treat them like a normal buyer. I email it to them. Sometimes I've seen it, sometimes I haven't. If I haven't, I know the area. If I don't know the area, I go see it first. And I visit my comps, and I kind of like, I learn. I educate myself on that. Now, probates. If you want to just look for probate sales, you can. Just look for probates. Probates can be great deals for your normal buyers. The really good thing about a probate is that even if the offer is accepted, you could probably go get it at court, right? You can go to court and bid and win it. One of the problems is that at court, they're going to ask you for a 10% deposit. So if the buyer is FHA, 3.5% down, probably not going to qualify. But if you can't, I know Jimena, you used to always canvas, you used to canvas listings, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she always had a good result. How many homes do you canvas up around a listing? 20 homes up, 20 homes back?
15 or 20, left, right.
15 or 20. So just imagine that if you visit 3 properties every day, and every property you visit, you just walk and visit 30 homes in the area. You're not going to get 30 answers. You're going to get a couple people. You're going to, out of 30, if there's 30 homes there, you're going to probably talk to 1 or 2 people. Spend an hour of your life. but those are good contacts. And they might know somebody that wants to buy that property. And that's usually what Jimena did, is they said, oh, really? Are you the agent? If you're really not the agent, say, no, I'm not the agent. Say, that agent, I know him, or I know her. I work with them, and I work in this area. I know the price. I've seen the property. Can I show it to you? They very rarely ask, are you the agent? They ask, well, what is the property like? What is the price? Can I buy it? What's the down payment? Most people don't know. That's probably the first question I hear is, what are they asking for the down payment? And honestly speaking, it's probably one of the most naive questions, right? Because the seller doesn't ask you to put a certain down payment, right? The banks determine what the minimum down payments are. So remember, previewing, canvassing, probates, anything, talk to those neighbors because you can usually get those buyers in the property. Now, another thing, look at properties with many days on market. This is good for buyers or investors. If it's 30 days and it's an REO, that price is going down, right? We sold that property, what, on Belglade? Remember that one? And Noe brought it to me. We sold it to my investor. He brought it to me, and they were asking like $229, $235. And what did I tell you the first time? I told you it's overpriced, nobody's gonna buy it, and it's gonna end up selling for like $180. When that price got knocked down to $219, we submitted, rejected. When it got knocked down to $209, submitted, rejected. When it got down to $199, or about to be reduced, we submitted again to $180, we got the counter, and we got it accepted. All we had to do is resubmit every single time, every single week, right? Every Monday or Tuesday, we resubmitted the same offer. Because every 2 or 3 weeks on an REO, they're gonna reduce the price if it hasn't sold. They're trying to sell it, but they like starting high. So on REO, one of the tricks is resubmit, resubmit, resubmit. They're not gonna get their feelings hurt. The listing agent wants to see offers. The listing agents know that they're overpriced. Question?
Yes. Any recommendations on how to submit the offers as far as concessions and everything else?
If you have an investor, obviously it's pretty clear, right? Don't ask for anything. Yeah, I like to put the words no repairs, no price reductions. I even call it out. If you've really shown the property and they've seen it and they're totally good, remove all contingencies with the offer, or don't put more than 3 or 5 days for inspection. If it's vacant, I still like to ask for it to be vacant at the close of escrow. I put it in there. Other than that, don't ask for anything. Now, for normal homeowners on an REO, look at the property first. My recommendation is for a normal homeowner, always ask for termite. But if you see major things that are preventing it from being financed, then you might want to talk to one of us and maybe see if we can kind of point you in the right direction. But in general, on a normal homeowner buyer, make sure you check off the boxes that say where they basically have to comply with governmental and appraiser and lender requirements, because a lot of times you're going to have lender required repairs. Now, you don't have to think that they don't have to scare you, and they don't have to kill the deal. But if you see a deal killer, then bring it up, or maybe you're not going to get it. You see, sometimes if you can't get financing for it and the buyer doesn't have money to repair those things, it might not happen. So ask for termite. Make sure you're going to get your lender required repairs done. Don't ask for closing costs unless the buyers really need it. It's kind of the same drill with any buyer. That's why I always instruct my buyers. I say, look, how much money do you really have? If you don't need to, if you have money for your closing costs, it's better that we just ask for a part. Maybe ask for $3,000 in closing costs, $5,000 in closing costs. Your offer is going to look a lot better than the one that asks for 3.5%. And when you ask for closing costs, I like to just ask for a round amount. If my offer is for $300, just ask for 9 or ask for 5 or whatever it is. Don't ask for 3% or 3.5%. I mean, I want to know that I have a certain amount of money for my buyer for closing costs. That's not going to change. The other reason is that sometimes you put 3.5%, you don't put of sales price. So 3% of sales price towards the buyer's recurring and non-recurring closing costs. So no, just make it you can make the offers, however. The most important thing about making an owner-occupied offer on an REO or any listing is the price. Now, if it's FHA, it's the lowest down payment. If you're asking for closing costs, that's already another negative. But if you have to do it, you have to do it. Another question?
Yeah. do you guys have a list of what you're looking to when you receive an offer on the in-house listings?
We have an offer checklist that we recommend, and we use it for every single.
Because maybe we can use the same thing to submit an offer. Sorry, Lucas.
Yeah, the offer checklist, we recommend the office to use it on every single offer that you submit. Because technically speaking, we want to see a copy of every offer you submit. It's part of, it's GRE guideline, right, Rob?
Yeah.
You don't have to submit it to us before you submit it per se. You can still submit it, but the idea is that every offer you submit should be submitted to the broker once you submit it, whatever the case is. It's just for record keeping. Because we can have a client come up and say, well, was my offer submitted? I don't trust you. I don't think you submitted my offer because it's sold for less than what I offered. You see? That's an issue. We had a property about 6 months ago that ended up selling. One of our agents sold it, and it ended up selling for $50,000 or $60,000 less than the highest offer. And that highest offer came back and said, "Hey, the property sold for less than we offered. What went wrong?" You know. Now, if we have the records and everything, we can show them. Well, look, it was negotiated downwards and so forth. This is what happened. Or we just tell them. Another time, the seller might say, somebody might find out and tell the seller, "Hey, we submitted this offer for $700,000. Why didn't you take ours?" Well, if we presented all the offers to the seller, which we did, and the seller signed rejecting that $700,000 offer, and they accepted the one for $650,000, well, that's also important too. So remember that if you're a listing agent and you have 10 offers, yeah, you accept one, have your seller reject the other 9 in writing. That's very important, because then you're leaving that opening where the seller could have said, "I never saw that offer," and you don't want that. So present all offers, have them execute them all. Question?
What's the correct way to reject them?
There's a rejection initials on page 8 of the RPA, or the last page of your offer.
Oh, so
at the very, very bottom,
nothing extra.
it says rejection of offer. No, you don't have to. Now, you don't have to necessarily send the rejection to every offer that you reject. You could tell, huh? Yeah, you could. I mean, if we have 1 accepted and 9 that didn't get accepted, usually it's an email saying, "Sorry, the seller, we're working with another offer at this time. Yours is being held as a backup," right? And if they really, really get insistent, you could show them that page that it was rejected, and so forth. You know, so.
What would make a seller reject an offer for $700 and
Well,
send one for $650?
Financing.
Financing.
Financing?
Yeah.
Financing.
The property. See, if a property needs work, it's just for example. Right now we have a listing. Is it up there? Chires has a listing for $80,000 in Highland Park. The house is on a hillside, and the hillside collapsed. The house is hanging off the hill. So let's call that land value, right? But it's not even land value because the land is moving. Okay? So if somebody submitted to me an offer on that house and they just didn't know what they were doing, or maybe they thought they could get financing. Oh no, we have somebody that can get financing. Maybe they have hard money, no problem, that will do financing. And they say, "Oh, I'm going to offer this amount of money." And there's one for a little bit less, but saying, "We know it's really messed up and we want to buy it cash." It's up to the seller. Now, other cases, what happens if the seller wants to sell to their friend? What happens if we say, accept this one for $700, it's better for you, it's more money. But they say, no, I'm going to sell it to my brother for $650 or $675. So the bottom line is that there can be lots of reasons that the seller chooses not the highest offer, right? And there may be reasons that we recommend an offer which is not always the highest, you know. So it just depends. You know, review every single offer, and the terms and contingencies, those are important things, especially for some sellers.
Can a listing agent entice the seller to accept his offer for submitting a buyer?
Well, this is the question is, can a listing agent get a seller to accept their own offer and and reduce a commission or so forth? You have to understand that as long as you present all offers to the seller and the seller sees every single one, the seller's the one making the decision. So it's not really about, the listing agent can recommend a seller to do something, but the idea is to recommend them to do what's best in their interest. Now, sometimes it happens, I've taken listings where I take a 5% listing and I put it there in a clause, 4% only or 4.5% only if I represent the buyer. Some sellers, if they really nag me for that, what am I going to do? They really nag me for that. But if not, it's just going to say 5%. And if I find the buyer, it's a 5% total commission. But some sellers say, oh no, I'm not going to pay you more than this. Now, even on the REO side, or the short sales, right? We have short sales, a normal listing that would be 6%, and we have some banks that will only pay 5% on a short sale. And there are some banks that will only pay 4% on a short sale if it's double-ended by the same office. Even if it's a different agent, same office. So it happens. We don't want it to happen, but sometimes it happens. But I mean, at the end of the day, if my offer matches an outside broker's offer, I mean, usually I can bring the value to my seller to choose my offer. But the reason that I usually get my offer accepted is not because I match the price or so forth. The reason I get accepted is because I tell them I've pre-qualified the buyers myself. I know the lender. They always close. And when they tell me somebody's pre-qualified, they've never denied a loan. So the bottom line is I'm bringing value to this client versus the other one, which is just an outside broker, lender we don't recognize, loan officer we don't recognize, right? That's with everything almost being the same. Now, if the other offer is 20% down and mine's FHA, then I gotta really vouch for the deal, right? Because 20% down is a stronger offer. So maybe my offer will be better if it was for more money, and the seller says, you know, more money maybe from your buyer. So that's all flexible, but the bottom line is, you know, try to recommend the best offer. But I mean, my offers are usually better because, like I said, I can vouch for them that they're going to close. But if my offer is $30,000 under the best, no, the best offer should get accepted. You know, the highest one should get accepted. So, and I've had plenty of offers accepted, not on my own listings, on other listings, the second or third time around. I don't always get accepted on the first time around. You know, I get rejected. I'm as a backup. That's part of life as an agent. I mean, and you have to instruct your buyers. Look, our offer was not accepted, but you really like the house. We're being held as a backup. You have to make sure to follow up with that listing agent. Maybe it falls out of escrow because you forget about it once you get rejected, or you forget about it. So don't just forget about those properties. Any other questions on submitting offers or previewing properties, so forth? No? Okay. One of the things that people have been asking me, and I think one thing that we try to instruct you or help you with, and also in the training and mentoring program, is people ask us, well, what do we do on a daily basis, right? How do we spend our time? I think I was at a mixer the other day, and I was with somebody. It was a NAREP mixer, and somebody told me, oh, well, I'm getting a lot of rentals, and this and that. I'm getting a lot of people that want to rent, or this and that, put their properties for rent. And I said, are you doing that? She said, yeah, I'm doing it, but I really want listings. I said, then don't do rentals. Because if you look for more rentals, you're going to get them. If you look for listings, you're going to get them. So, and she said, yeah, and she realized to herself that she was looking for the rentals because she'd rather take a little something rather than nothing. I said, no, that's not it. I said, look at the time you spend on that to make a $300 or $700 commission, or even if it's $1,000, whatever it is. I said, you could have spent that time getting one listing. One listing would be better than your 10 rentals. So you also have to have a schedule, right? So people have been asking about time. I mean, I focus about 70% of my time on listings. I'm talking to my sellers. I'm asking them what else are they doing. I'm canvassing properties. When I have an open house, I'm not really looking for buyers. I'm looking for the neighbors that might want to sell. You know? I can't remember the last time that I had an open house and I actually sold my own listing. I can't remember. I can't remember. That means it's been a pretty long time. I mean, most top producers will tell you that open house is to market your name, not to find a buyer. So if you're doing an open house without, you know, I advertise my open houses on different websites, openhouse.com. I update my MLS about the open house so that it exports to Redfin. like 80% of the people that visit my open house come without their agent because they saw it on Redfin. Those ones, I have a good probability of closing them as one of my buyers, right? Whether on my listing, or I just drive them somewhere else, and I have my assistant stay at the open house. I do that all the time. I just drive them somewhere else, earn a little trust.
And that's going back to what you said at the beginning, know your inventory, so you
Yeah, don't do an open house unless you have 2 or 3 other active listings in the area that you can just show on a whim. You have to have that. If you do an open house, you have to know the comps, you have to have 2 or 3 active listings, you have to be able to drive them to something else. And they can't be exactly the same. It could be 1 bedroom smaller, it could be 1 bedroom bigger, it could be $30,000 less, it could be $40,000 more. So I did an open house at a property that was for $500,000, and I had my backup plan was one for $400,000. And it was 10 minutes away. So that was pretty easy. So have those, for open houses, that's important. But the bottom line is put your signs out, make sure it goes to all the websites, because now people see your name. They say, oh, Adela, Real Estate Heaven. And then guess what happens when you knock on their door 2 weeks? Oh, I saw your signs the other day. That's enough of an icebreaker. Versus just showing up, I'm the best agent in your area. That's not going to happen, right? Now, remember when you're knocking on doors or canvassing, you could say something like, oh, I was just on the block because I'm looking at this house for sale. That's good enough. Or I'm canvassing the area because we're doing an open house on Saturday, right? Or I'm canvassing the area, I'm just giving you this flyer of the house we just listed or we just sold right over there. So you give them something about their local market or about a house for sale or just sold open house. So if you come prepared, all you have to do is start making some connections, right? So I spend about 70% of my time on listings, which means in a week, probably 4 to 5 days are spent on listings. 1 or 2 of the days, open houses, buyers, working on my files, those kinds of things. But you have to focus on the listing side to get the listings. If you focus on the buyers, if you have 4 or 5 buyers that you're showing properties to, you don't have time for listings. You don't have time. You don't have time to look for listings. So I have this. This is what I use my MLS search also to look for listings too. Robert, you use MLS to prospect. You know, the MLS has farming utilities. So ask us about the MLS there, or go to the West San Gabriel board for the MLS tutorial. How can you use your MLS to help you prospect also, to get the farms, to get the names and numbers of the neighbors, or get it, or from a title rep or so forth. But I like the looking for on the MLS because as long as it gets me out to the properties, I can usually make things happen when I'm at the properties. But from my office, I can't do much other than call people. So if you're one of those people that don't like to just cold call every single time, if you're not going to cold call, at least go out and visit properties. If you can do both, even better. Okay, I was at my listing the other day, and an investor showed up, and they said, "Oh, I work with another agent in your office." Perfect. How'd you guys meet? He cold called me. He told me. I said, "That's great." He said, "He cold called me. We met. We hit it off. He sold me some properties." I mean, that's the last thing I expected from an investor, to be cold called by an agent. But see, the investors usually live where they work too. So they're going to be cold called just like anybody else. So you just got to call them or meet them. So this is kind of how I spend my time. But work on the schedule. Who's in the mentoring? Noe, John. If you're not in the mentoring, ask us and join the mentoring. If make that commitment of time, it's important because we can fine tune your schedule. If all you do is get your schedule, you'll be light years ahead of every other agent. 9 out of 10 agents don't have a schedule. Without a schedule, then how are you going to know that what steps are you going to do to get listings? What steps are you going to do to get buyers? What steps are you going to take to look for the properties? So without a schedule and like an active business plan, you're not going to be able to get out there. Okay? How are we going to time, Rob? Good?
Up to you.
Okay. Second part of the training is going to be on some of the prospecting and conversations that I have with people on a weekly basis, because it's important. I'm not everyday prospecting homeowners. When I'm doing open houses, I am. When I'm doing canvassing, I am. but I'm always prospecting with business owners. And for me, it's worked out. So I've made that, you know, one of my emphasis. Business owners are very important. Now, what kind of businesses do you have in your area? Just to give an example. Think of something.
Dry cleaners, coffee shops.
Okay, dry cleaners, coffee shops, small markets. Okay. Now, think of businesses where more people go. So, dry cleaners, good. The community goes there, right? Smoke shops, you say? Smoke shops are great.
Pet shops.
Huh? Pet shops? Pet shops are good also. Cigar shops or smoke shops are actually really good because they're in a social environment. I've been talking to owners of dance halls and fiesta halls because they get groups of 200-300 people for their gatherings, and it's always community based. People want to have their party in their community. Pet shops, I've been talking to some pet shop owners. The owners of cafes and bars. You know, if somebody just opened a bar and they spent $200,000 doing a tenant improvement, a TI, on that space, believe me, not only do they have money, they're active business owners and they managers. They are looking to make a dollar somehow. Real estate could be one of the easiest things they ever do. They already have the money. They just need us to tell them how to do it. They have to be educated because most people are scared about what they don't know, right? So those are important. I started talking with some chambers of commerce. Now, those ones, you're networking with other people. It helps to be known in your area. So I mean, you have to understand that you can't always go in with the intention of, okay, I want to sell you a house or this and that. You can be really aggressive if you want to be, but you have to decide how aggressive to be, because if you're participating, then people will also know what you're doing. But maybe there's an opportunity for you to sponsor something, or to participate or buy a foursome. Like we bought a foursome at the last police department golf tournament. So it's at Real Estate Heaven. It's something. We had a good time. We played golf. If people remember Real Estate Heaven, that's fine. They're not going to remember my name or whoever else played, but we sponsor something. I've been noticing a lot of membership and participation with clubs, Lions clubs, Rotary clubs. If you're going to participate in something, even a PTA. My wife is really active at the school where my kids go. She's a room mom of 2 of my kids, and 3 of the kids are in school, so she's room mom in 2 classes. Everybody in the school knows her. I had an agent the other day ask me to see a property, and she says, "Oh, I know your wife. She's my kid's room mom." And I said, "Okay, great. Here's the combo. Go show it." But it's like, it's something. But the other times, my wife comes and said, "Oh, my wife holds my business cards." And somebody says something about real estate. "Oh, my husband's a realtor. Give him a call." And then they say, "Ian Sanchez, Real Estate Heaven." Maybe they saw my name. At least it's a shoe-in, right? So now, if I go participate at one of the events at the school or so forth, there's other ways that I can get my name out there. But it helps to participate. Restaurant owners. This is probably the best one. Restaurant owners. Everywhere there's restaurants. And has anybody run or worked at a restaurant before?
No.
Why'd you stop? It's just too much time, right? It's the most work with the least amount of return usually. It's owning a restaurant. It's a lot of management, a lot of work. Just like owning a donut shop. You start at 4 in the morning and you finish late, and for what? Trying to sell donuts and coffee on a hot day? It's going to be very hard, right?
So what's your approach?
Restaurant owners, you have to obviously patronize them. Now, I like to go to some places more often than others, but I mean, go to different places. And even if you have 10 or 20 favorite restaurants, if you're on their list if you're the realtor that they know, they will bring you clients too. So even if they don't want to buy or sell, they'll bring you clients. Now, most restaurants I go to, they don't have spots for people to have flyers and business cards. So I never ask anybody to put my cards or my flyers anywhere. But if they know who I am, and I always make sure they have my cards, they give my card out. Or they just tell me, "Oh, you should talk to Ian." And they take down their info, and then when I'm in there next week, "Hey, one of my friends or this and that is interested in buying or interested in selling," even better. give them a call. Now it's your job to call them. So it's just getting your name out there, but it's very important for them to know what you do, right? Don't forget to tell people what you do. It's no problem. I mean, I always ask people what they do. That's like 101 for me pre-qualifying a buyer. What do you do? Oh, do you work 9 to 5? They pay you hourly or salary? I don't even know their name, and I'm asking them questions, and they always answer me. I don't know why, but they always answer me. So ask the questions, they'll answer you. Whether it's business owner or normal homeowner. Hospitals and charities and fundraisers, these are very good things. You don't always have to put up money to participate. So all you have to do is go there and ask. You wouldn't realize how many, probably the medical industry is probably one of the most stable industries, highest paid. So these people obviously don't have a lot of time. They're working 12-hour shifts. They have families. They don't have time to look for homes or look for investments. And if you get somebody with more money, let's say the doctor or an administrator of a school or a hospital, they have the income. Maybe they have some spendable income to invest somehow, right? Now, this brings us to a little bit of advertising. Some agents are going to be in the position to spend money on advertising. Who advertises right now? Henry? Advertising is very important, okay? Because if you're not going to be social, and you're not going to knock on doors and stuff like that, advertising may be one way to go, but most people will say that advertising is going to take you 1 or 2 years to get a result on its own. See, advertising is one step, one way that you can gain business or get your name out there. So be careful, but top agents will recommend spending about 15% of your income on advertising. So if you're making $200,000 a year, it might hurt you to spend $30,000 advertising. But it makes sense because $30,000 is $3,000 a month. And $3,000 a month is not that much if you're closing 3 or 4 deals and you have $20,000 or $30,000 in monthly commissions. It makes sense, you know, instead of having the $1,000 car payment, you could have $1,000 being spent on advertising or some kind of marketing flyers or door hangers or mailers, you know. Gonzalez has had good results with mailers. Mailers, cold calling, whatever it is. Maybe you can hire an assistant. Maybe that's where you're going to put your money in. So just realize that you got to spend money to make money. And I always joke with people that they say, oh, you have that, that's really nice. I said, or you went to Vegas. I said, you know what, I could be on my last $5,000 and get something, but I always have the tendency, like, if I spend money with the intent of doing something, it usually comes back to me. But a lot of people are afraid of spending. Some people just don't have the money. That's fine. If you don't have the money to spend on advertising, there's so many ways that it just takes your time. But all you have to do is set the schedule and the goals to go do that, right? So I just came back from ARIA, from the annual conference in Vegas, which had a big focus on international clients. Does anybody work with international clients? Work with some? It's kind of over and over again what I've been hearing from them. There's a lot of money coming here from out of the country. And I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of the homes we've been selling in some areas, I mean, they're leaning in one direction, whether it's a certain culture, there's communities that are, you know, more one culture or nationality than another. You know, and we've represented lots of different cultures. We have a lot of cultures here in the office. If it's your goal to deal not just with international clients, but maybe some high net worth clients, one of the biggest tools for me has been dealing with private bankers. So I don't know if you know that there's a Chase right down the block here, but then they're opening a Chase right down the block over there. Does anybody know why they're having 2 branches, literally like 1 block from each other?
Different languages?
This is going to be the high net worth branch, and this is going to be the regular branch. So that must mean that Chase, for some reason, has enough clients and enough business, or they want to gain that market share in San Marino, that they're opening up a brand new branch, 1 block from the other branch.
The more the merrier.
The more the merrier. So if you deal with a private banker and they know, and you have an account there, right? I have accounts at different banks, you know, and they know that you're active in the area as a real estate agent, and you go by and you talk to them when you make your deposit, you talk to them when you make a withdrawal, whatever you do. It's just about talking. They can be a great source of referrals. for you. And these private bankers deal a lot with international clients. And if you're in a, because the international clients are some of the wealthiest, especially if they're going and traveling to another country like the US and owning a home here. If somebody owns a home in another country and a home here, that's a sign of wealth, no matter how you look at it. So, also, there's lots of different banks, which we have a HSBC and a OneWest right down the corner. Nobody goes to HSBC, right? HSBC, I mean, who goes to HSBC? Well, why do they have a branch there? They have a full HSBC branch because of their international clients that bank with HSBC. Do you know that US Bank was rated as the #1 bank for not customer service, like general poll, all feedback I saw on a poll, I think on CNN yesterday. US Bank. I never go to US Bank. Who has a bank account at US Bank? You do? One, 2 people, see? And look, the other one's international. Right? See? You. So 2 people out of the 40 of us have accounts, and one of them happens to be Korean.
Money laundering.
Right? So, I'm telling you, I was at the ARIA conference where it's mostly emphasis on Chinese, Korean, and Japanese, and there's some banks that other countries use, and there's some banks that we use. Right? If you're here, people are going to say they work with Chase, or they used to work with Washington Mutual, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. They just don't know better. They go to the bank that's closest, or they go to their credit union if it's a school. Credit unions are great sources too. They have people there, you can talk to them. So just realize that there's these sources that even at banks where they may be good sources of referrals. Now, on the investment side, I've been noticing that there's other good investments for your investors and for your homeowners. Primarily, let's just say 2 to 4 units. I've been noticing that the buy and hold is becoming very important. So what is a buy and hold? Right. Most investors right now are thinking about short term, right? I'm telling them either semi-permanent or long-term. Now, for the ones we can find flips for or short-term investments, fine. But they're not going to be around forever. I'm telling my investors buy and hold. Buy something with the intent of holding on to it for at least 2 or 3 years. Even longer, better. Most savvy investors or homeowners or property owners that have been buying properties for 50 years, their biggest regret is they didn't buy enough properties, right? So focus on these 2 to 4 units, even if they're flips. Even the flip properties are good investments with 20% down, if they're units that are bringing good rents. Pre-qualify your investors, because most investors will not know that they can get a loan. Ask them how many loans they have, because if they have more than 4 loans, they may not qualify for a normal loan, right? So just make sure you talk to your lender, you talk to your investor. Now, there's other opportunities. Some of these high net worth people or people with money might prefer to buy commercial buildings. They might prefer to be conservative, or some might like to be aggressive. Some might want to buy a bunch of duplexes. I had one investor tell me, I want to go buy 15 condos in Las Vegas. Why? I want to buy them, and then I'm going to sell them to all my rich friends in Korea. That's aggressive. He wants to do something. Well, I'm not licensed in Nevada, so I said, okay, I have a friend in Nevada. Let's go talk to him. That's a broker. But that's aggressive for me. I would have never thought about telling him, do you want to buy houses in Nevada and sell them to your buddies in Korea? That's aggressive. Others might say conservative. Well, I want to buy 3 units and I want to put 50% down. That's conservative. They do not want debt. They want the most cash flow. Classify your people. Are they short-term or long-term investors? And if they're not investing in anything, you have to educate them about the security of buying 2 to 4 units and holding on to them, getting the rents, having possible tax deductions once you talk to your CPA, and then in the future, selling them or just keeping them or giving them to family. This is how you build an inheritance, by owning properties. But most people don't save money. So this will force them to at least earn equity, right? So the buy and hold's very good right now. Any other questions about investors or anything in general right now? I think we have a couple minutes for final questions. Everybody good? Okay, guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much.